we've got something that we believe works for veterans. Now, it may not work for everybody, but can we say that if we've saved one veteran with a dog, we've done a job?
I'm Phil. I want him on Phil. Thanks. I've got to put his little jacket on. Copper was a surprise. My partner actually surprised me with him. The next 2 months, he and I were just inseparable, and it was just incredible to have this little thing that actually depended on you and was just authentic. Seeing him wake up in the morning and stretch and do all forms of weird doggy yoga positions, and through to, you know, how his ears flop and fold, there's no pretentiousness, there's no superficiality, it's all absolute authenticity, and it's able to bring you out of whatever moment you're in into that connection that we all miss.
I didn't think of a service dog at all. I didn't realise I had problems. I'd have outbursts of anger and those sort of things. And it was after about a year working with the psychologist and the psychiatrist that they said, look, you have complex PTSD and what they call MDD, major depressive disorder, and we need to work through those sort of things. Again, no mentions of dogs or anything like that.
When he first got here, he was a volunteer. Then one day he said, I think I might try a service dog. I said, yeah, right. And then he said, her, Raven. And she goes everywhere with him. Even a protest meeting with the unions before he finished. He went on a protest meeting and the dog was with him. And it was quite funny because some of the politicians that know him, they'd come up to him and say, "G'day, Bill, what do you got there?" And he said, now they're talking to me as I'm their friend.
Yes, good girl. Have this stick. Have this stick. That's fine. Have this stick. Oh my God. Yes, you can chew the stick. It's fine. You know.
Faith was originally just going to be a demo dog for showing and demonstrating how a service dog could show what they could do. I think that really changed from being a demo dog to being a service dog the day I had a seizure.
She was walking behind me with Faith, and I was walking up ahead, and then I heard a bang. She hit her head on the concrete.
I don't recommend it. It does hurt, and the only thing she knew was a form of DPT, which is deep pressure therapy, and she put her whole body on mine.
Faith had actually pushed her on her side and put her nose underneath and lifted her head.
And she managed to roll me onto my left side, and she kept licking me until I came to, which was about, I think, 2 to 5 minutes.
And by the way, Faith wasn't taught that at that stage, the way it is supposed to be done. It was an impulse by Faith. It just woke us up a little bit, that we were on the right track, and that also it can happen to anybody.
And ever since then, she has caught and alerted to every single seizure.
She was slightly different to what she is now because of the accident, but there's more surety with her because the dog is there and the dog will pick up something. She's relying more on faith that we don't understand why. I was watching a movie the other night about Vietnam.
Yeah.
And it was nothing to do with us.
Yep.
It was just about Vietnam. And he and Caesar came and sat around the chair.
Yeah, right.
Now, I didn't call them,
Yeah.
but they just sat there.
Yeah. When you're like typing things or doing work that might get you a bit, I don't know, anxious or emotional, he's like sitting right there.
Yeah, that's right.
They're very uncanny how we can pick that up. And particularly when it comes to mental health and treating mental health, Most people suffer from some form of anxiety or depression, and the best remedy for any is trying to get people to live in the moment. My relationship broke down right as COVID hit, and then I lost funding for the position that I was in because COVID affected that business, and the whole world spiraled. I'd heard another story about one of my soldiers who had attempted to take his own life. How do people not realise that this is real? And so many of these issues are just so recent, and unless you've been in the thick of it recently, you don't sort of get it, and there's like a real-time crisis going on. So long story short, I made the decision that the best thing I could do to be of service to my team and to the mission again was to sit there and plan to take my own life. And then I set about sort of planning how I was going to overdose myself on some of the medications that I had. And then, as cliche as it comes, he knows his cue. This little guy walked his way up his little ramp to the lounge and just literally came and put his head on my lap because it was his time to get fed. And that's that sort of moment where all of a sudden I came out of that mindset I was in because something else needed me, and that's that purpose outside of self. The scariest part for me in that moment was I was empowered, I was ready, I was enthusiastic, I had absolute focus on what needed to be done, and realising it's not this, despairing what you see on the movies. It's actually some of the most clarity I've ever had, and that was the scariest part, because you realise that if you went back to that, and unless something external snaps you out of that, you're on a freight train going in one direction. So
we've had one veteran who died, hung himself, and his dog was at the base of his feet. And that always reminds me of a situation that if that fellow had just another few minutes with that dog, that may have saved him. It didn't. It was too late.
Mental disease or mental illness is very insidious. If you don't deal with it, it grows and grows, and it's like a big cobweb. Whereas if you have something like a service dog, the focus is away from that to the dog, and the dog pulls you through it. If I had had the dog back in, let's say, the 90s, I believe that I probably could have done a lot more with my life. Not that I'm dissatisfied, but I think I could have done more.
I was in the army for 24 years, and I've been out for 20 years. So by the time she's ready to retire from work, I will probably be quite happy just to have her at home, because I won't, as an 80-plus-year-old, I'm not going to be out doing these sort of things. I won't be going out on the road too much. So we can have the last few years together again.
You go through this pendulum swing at everything, whereby particularly once you're on top of any of those previous mental illness or emotional health issues you had beforehand, it's much easier to move on and pretend like it never happened, but just to help people realise that it's okay to not be okay, and that there are organisations and people and programs and puppies out there that can help not only cure and treat, but prevent as well.
If these sort of organisations were around then, that would have been a major plus. But back around then, I think the only things there were guide dogs. I'd never heard of a hearing dog, I'd never heard of an assistance dog or anything else. I know in America they were just starting to play around in those areas, but in Australia I don't think there was anything.
So that's what we say. Give us the equipment, the money, whatever. And don't just say on an Anzac Day, gee, you're doing a good job, and thank you for your service. And then politicians want to be around somebody who's got medals. Give us the implements to work besides just counselling. You need something to take the crutch away and put something else there besides a crutch. That's what that doctor told me. He said, you're in crutches or in a wheelchair. I'll take the crutches away, but I'll give you something back. That's what we want.
I would happily support any dog-focused charity or organisation over most others, because I just know the impact that it's had on me and could have on others. The services they provide, matching up veterans with animals, dogs that could provide a service or a support to them to help them in their everyday life and to help them in that mental health journey and healing is, immeasurable.
Between leaving the army, working in PAWS, I didn't think about a dog at all. but now I couldn't do without it.
PAWS is a veteran community, but this has got a special role. It's taken from the soldier with a dog in war cause areas to a ex-soldier with a dog mitigating problems that occur from that war. Boots on the ground followed by PAWS. That's what it is.